From Raven. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, mate. Very good to be here. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. How you doing for COVID?
Uh, is that really a thing?
Right? It's the apocalypse, yeah.
We're very lucky. It hasn't. I mean, it made us postpone a lot of stuff, but we actually started postponing like the album, which came
Mhm.
out on September 18th, and what was going to be the corresponding tour got kicked into next year. But that happened, and then literally 2 weeks later, it was like, oh, there's a pandemic, shut everything down. So, you know, at this point, everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah, how's that affected you? The album
Well, we
sales.
had dates booked for February in Europe, which are probably going to get pushed back to about May. We're waiting to hear about that. But otherwise, just took the time to work on more music. What are you going to do?
Well, I've heard there's two schools of approach. Some people are like, we're gonna put the music out there and the fans want it because they're starved and they think it's gonna sell or move. And some people are like, I'm not gonna put out new music because it's not gonna move because I can't tour with it. So you kind of got forced into putting it out there. Is it a
Well, we
huge
could have
difference?
stopped too, but
You
we
could've-
just said, we're putting it out in September, and this still went on. We just said, yeah, let's put it out in September. If
Has
we're
it
lucky, things
has
will
it
change, and if they don't, people will be hungry. And it's actually worked out great because, like you say, people are starved. They are listening to music, they
so
are
okay,
buying it,
good.
and the reaction was phenomenal. Uh, we've never had reviews this good, and that many of them. And of course, the reaction from the fans is where it's most important, has been awesome. So
Well,
it just makes
it's good.
people, anticipation for when we do get to play them live.
It's produced well. You have a really good sound too. It's not like a garage sound. It's a really good, produced album.
Well,
Your,
I
your
would
vocals
hope
are
not.
strong.
I would hope not at this point.
Well, you don't know. People getting bounced around with different labels, money. People, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it quite often it does come down to money, but it's pretty difficult at this day and age with the way the technology is to have something sound, like really crappy. You
Yeah,
you really got to work hard at it, I think. Uh, and you can literally create a decent sounding record in your bedroom.
you can if you know what you're doing. Some people
Yeah.
still overdo it. I'm talking about it was mixed good. It has a good mix.
No, well,
Other people would tell you that
it's. I
it
mean,
sounds good.
it all comes down to the songs, but the playing. We raised the bar. We raised the songs on the bar on writing the songs. We had Michael Wagner in engineering the guitar, bass, and vocals.
Just great.
Mike Heller did his own drums because you know, he's crazy like that, but he did a great job. And we've got this guy Zeus in the mix who just knocked it out the park. It's got that great mix between the old school feel and more modern production, without it sounding
Dated
fake
or
and
yeah.
nasty.
What number of album is this for you?
Sorry?
What number is this release?
I think it's the 14th studio album.
Wow, wow. So let's
There's
pull
like
back a little
three
bit.
live albums, a bunch of
Yeah.
EPs and compilations, and God knows what else.
Well, I know you was so let's go back to the very beginning. So you and your brother starting out with music. How'd that start? Like your family
Well,
musical
first the earth cooled, then came the dinosaurs.
dinosaurs.
Well, they got turned into oil, and the Saudis came and put them into Mercedes Benzes, as they say.
Well, so being
We
musical
were
brothers is
just
interesting.
kids
Yeah.
that loved music, and the music we heard was on Top of the Pops in England. The equivalent of what's his name, like Solid Gold or
Dick Clark and
Dick Clark. That's the
yep.
word I'm looking for. That kind of crap, right? But back in the early 70s, it was Slade and Sweet and Status Quo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And first band we went to see was Slade with the
I love Slade.
sensational Alex Harvey band opening. And for different reasons, really, both of them blew our minds and changed our lives. And it was like, we're going to form a band. So the next year, we decided we were going to form a band, and we had one acoustic guitar between us, and bugged our parents for cheap electrics, and stole radiograms out of dumpsters to try and connect the wires to make them work as guitar amplifiers, all kinds of
Nice.
crazy nonsense. And
That's
just
cool.
it went from there.
Did you guys both gravitate to the instruments you have, or did you kind of like play around with different ones?
You mean as far as bass or
Yeah,
guitar or
yeah, yeah,
trumpets and all that?
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, Mark and the guy down the street, Paul, came and said, "We're going to form a band and you can play the bass." And I was like, "That's great." Because I was already tuning down the guitar, trying to figure out how to play some bass lines and stuff.
Yeah.
So
A
yeah,
lot of brothers usually, any music bands always like, yeah, I had the guitar, I put it down, or you know what I mean? It always seems like the
yeah.
other one kind of, so it's kind of different to actually have you be like, nope, that's what I wanted.
No, that it worked out fine for me. And I mean, I've never stopped playing guitar
Mhm.
all the way through, which it's always good playing another instrument. I mean, even if instruments are as close as bass and guitar, just it gives you a better view of the overall picture and how stuff fits in together, you know. I mean, I know there's a lot of, I've ran into a lot of bass players that couldn't play a note on guitar. And I just think that's strange. You really need to, you want a wider perspective. It's
Yeah.
kind of like bands that listen to two bands and they're like, yeah, they're my favorite bands, and I'm going to form a band, and my music's going to sound like theirs.
Just
It's like,
them.
what? Why would you do that? So the whole thing is to give it a different perspective and try and bring different stuff in and do that.
Mm. Cool. So, your first albums, you were, I know that you guys had gone through like different images and different record labels. How did that go about? Like your first couple albums, first I know you got signed, and then it was like the same label for like two or 3 year albums before you got picked up on the major.
Yeah, we were on an independent label called Neat
Yeah.
in England for the first three albums. And pretty much the master of our domain and our direction. We signed a major deal with Atlantic and got a deal based on the album we'd recorded. And then they decided to, put the big feet into the mix for the second album, which came out an awful lot more commercial, which, kind of alienated a lot of fans and made us do a lot of self-examination and say, this is not what we got into this for. So from now on, I don't care if 2 people like it or 2 million, whatever the story is, we're going to please ourselves again as we used to. We did an EP, which was the Mad EP, and then we did a full-fledged album, Life's a Bitch, and we were basically back on track and have done our own thing ever since, But we were on Atlantic, and they were famous back then in the middle 80s for taking bands and trying to strip mine them and ruin them because they didn't have a clue what they were doing.
I don't think any label has got any good reputation from the 80s. From every band, all the big labels are just horrible.
They're all horrible. It's occasionally this like a good A&R guy, or like back in the day, Atlantic, you would have, like Ahmet Ertegun or
Mhm.
Jerry Wexler. I mean, Ahmet Ertegun was, instrumental in getting Zeppelin out there to the
Mhm.
people, and people like Phil Carson in England, who was with Atlantic, with AC/DC, and you know, those you have like a key guy who makes it happen, and then when he's gone, yeah, forget it.
A lot of the
You're
artists
back to
suffer.
dealing with the selling the baked beans. We haven't got a clue. I mean, so many things in Atlantic we saw with the personnel there was exactly like Spinal Tap,
Really.
where they have the album launch party with Bobby Thutkin or whatever she was called.
Yeah.
People just like that, vacuous airheads who didn't know what they were doing.
Um. So from there, at one point when you're touring, so I know rock took a really big hit when grunge came
Yeah,
around. I mean, so it's always interesting to the bands I talk to now that have survived. Is fantastic because clearly put your head down and kept going, put a helmet on and just chugged on through. come out stronger.
That's, well, I mean, that's our nature. I mean,
Well,
from where we're
some bands
from.
couldn't do it. They couldn't just, they just, I mean, so,
No, a
but
lot of bands didn't. A lot of bands just broke up, or that they had these strange deals where, they were basically chipped down. It's like, you didn't do well last time, so now you're only going to get what, 20 grand. And back in the day, that would be a death sentence. Oh, I can't do a record for 20 grand.
and then you got to pay it back too.
And then it's like, oh, we've got all these merchandise deals and we're personally liable for them. And at least we were smart enough with a lot of stuff like that. It was done corporate, and you're chasing a corporation. Oh, sorry, corporation's folded.
Nice.
Tough. Tell you a funny one. We owed a publishing company a lot of money. They'd given us a big advance, and of course it all disappeared, usually into other people's pockets, but it all disappeared. And I would occasionally get letters saying, hey, you guys doing a new record? It'd be nice to get paid back on something. And say, nope. Even though we'd put 2 or 3 out by that point. And then, so we owed them, I don't know, 30, 40 grand. And I start getting reports and it's going down. Like, wow, we're making money. And you could say the song of ours on Stay Hard, one of the songs,
On and on.
Getting a lot of plays. Right? That's weird. And then all of a sudden we got a call and oh, sorry, we fixed it. It was When the Going Gets Tough, our song. They'd mixed it up with Billy Ocean's When the Going Gets Tough. We were getting all his royalties.
Oh, that's funny.
Oops, sorry.
So you get a nice bill readjusted, right? Back to the real world, huh?
Then it went back to where it was, and then that company went bust, and God, forget it. It's the little fish gets eaten by the bigger fish. It goes on and on and on with that. It's same as like our catalog now is technically with BMG, but we're already fighting to get it all back. But I mean, before BMG, it was Universal. Before Universal, it was Sanctuary.
Yep.
And that's just on the early albums, so all that stuff gets.
That'd be good to get all your rights back to it again.
Yeah, that's the plan. We just we're just scraping up some money now. We're going to pay, and we will. I think that one of them, that there's an issue. I think it's actually BMG. They're dragging their feet with a lot of people, so it's probably going to be a class action lawsuit to get it all back. But we will get it all back.
Good.
And then we can, at our leisure, do the whole box set trip, which will be a lot of fun because, we got a lot of stuff, and it pains me to see the early catalogue getting bought and repackaged without a great deal of input from us. And at this point, I have no interest in giving somebody else input on it. I want to do it right myself,
Well, and when you own it, you can sell it, and even if you
Well,
sell less,
I mean,
you'll make more money off of less selling.
Initially, we of course will make the money, which is
Right.
a great motivating factor. But it's also historically be really good to do it right with,
Of course.
the forwarders, the stories, extra tracks, and what have you. Do it right.
Well, this is the industry, the rock metal industry. That's what, as fans, we like to touch stuff on the vinyl or the CDs.
Yeah,
and pull it out, and you want to touch it. And you want to see all the liner notes, and you're reading who's the producer and who's this and who wrote this song, and that
whole faceless electronic download.
It's not like you can have the like a classical music and just have the printout of Bach on it, and like in the back of like 3 names on it, because no one really cares that genre. Like, you just want to listen to it. But in this industry, everyone wants all the details.
Yeah. I mean, and that's from way back when you would have like the jazz stuff. They would have these, long, whatever, paragraphs and paragraphs of information about, like a Miles Davis album or something. We would have all this stuff on, and it went from that, and it's almost, especially outside of metal, it's a lost art. But the whole immersive, I have a physical item, like you said, I have artwork, I have stuff to read, and instead of being plugged into what used to be MTV and somebody telling you how you should experience it, you experience it for yourself.
Well, the resurgence of vinyl too has kind of helped on some level, because once again, it's another dedicated. But it depends on how many you can make. I know there's a cost factor of printing just enough to make a profit. But like vinyl is just like, once again, just more room to print. You know, if I buy secondhand albums or whatever, I got some records. I'll go through them, like, oh, this one's got Kiss, it's got a poster, and the Zeppelin one with a crazy thing on. Like, it's got all these great different things going on with it. You can just,
Yeah,
so
I mean, I put up a song the other day of an old band called Family. They had an album called Bandstand, and the cover looked like an old black and white TV, and it was like cuts, and you could look into it, and on the back it had the back of the TV with all the stuff on it. It's just, it was amazing. It looked real. They could do all this stuff.
yeah, like Art Direction was actually Art Direction instead of just
Yeah,
a
yeah, it
Photoshop
was.
picture on it.
Yeah, and then it got to CDs, and it was just like, well, let's just put the splodge of red on or something so it'll catch people's eyes.
Yeah.
We were able to knock it out the park in both formats on this new album, but Metal City, because it looks like a comic book. It's very colourful. It stands out, and there's a lot of art inside. And I mean, obviously, the 12-inch by 12-inch format of an album's far more fun and interesting, and you can get more detailed. But luckily enough, with the CD thing, it worked out. I mean, you got to think back, cassettes. Nobody designed for cassettes. It was just an afterthought, wasn't it?
I don't even know how they printed it. I mean, I had hundreds of cassettes. I don't know how. The lyrics in it, who could read
the
it?
lyrics, you needed it. You needed freaking Mount Palomar. You needed a telescope to
I know.
read that stuff.
It was really just obnoxious. It was just like to do that. I'm like, just put some pictures in
fold
there.
out and fold out and fold
Yep.
down. Oh my God.
8 fold out pages. Yeah.
Crazy.
That is insane. So between when you did Neat and then you did Atlantic, and then I think towards the end of that tenure, there's a time when you guys were touring and your brother got hurt.
Well, it was the first thing you said was the drop
grunge.
in the whole rock thing, which initially was like a split. There was metal, and then everything either had to be thrash or glam, and we were neither. We were us. That's if nothing else, we do have an identity as we're the best Raven style band there is, or maybe the only one. So it got tough in America because somebody flicked the switch. Metal is dead. It's all grunge. That was the next thing. Oh, it's all grunge now. And that took a few years before it hit home in Europe. So we concentrated on Europe. We did an album and an EP in Europe and did a couple of tours there. And following that, we concentrated on Japan. I'm going to jump ship here a little bit. Hello. So we concentrated on Japan, and by the time that little chapter ended, we were doing, it was getting better in Europe, to be honest.
And what time period was this?
94, we did an album, and we toured in Japan in 95. And then by 97, we did a tour in Europe with Hammerfall. It was their first tour, and Tank. So it was a great bill, and metal was back. And it took a while before it came back over here.
Yeah.
In America, it definitely took a little longer, but we still stuck it out. And then, of course, 2001, my brother gets this terrible accident and nearly dies. Building fell on him, crushed his legs. He had a piece of rebar through one calf, both feet disconnected, calf ripped off the other leg, blah blah blah. And he was going to die. Then they were going to cut his legs off. He said no. They're going to cut his right leg off. He said no. Then it was, you'll never walk again, and he said no. And he proved them all wrong. And in 3 years after that, we did a handful of dates in the States with him in a wheelchair, which was daunting and scary. And it was like, is this where we're going to be?
Yeah.
I mean, heart and soul and played his ass off. But you know, I remember him stopping in the middle of one song to throw up, wiped his mouth, and then got back into the rest of the song because he just had, you know, an operation 2 weeks earlier. He still had anesthesia on his chest and what have you. And
That's some serious hero stuff, doing that, pushing
yeah,
on
but
through.
by 2005, we did a couple of festivals. We did a festival in Tampa, and he had this gigantic Mad Max leg brace on, so he was standing. And then we did a festival in England, Bloodstock, again, slightly smaller leg brace. And we did a festival in Germany, Keep It True, the same slightly smaller leg brace, couldn't really see it. And, you know, and within a couple of years, he was running around smashing guitars as he ever did, you know, nobody could tell the difference. So
Quite a change.
testament to a lot of stubbornness and, you know, mental strength.
Well, that can be said. Well, I mean, obviously, early on, you got were branded with the I don't know, the Athletic Band label, or if that was you guys, the label, or
yeah, the label slapped that on the first single, said Athletic Rock. I'm like, what's that? And so we were like, we're all racing with each other here. And it's just like, hey, who cares? You know, call us whatever you want. Just get
I remember just seeing the
right,
picture with you guys with sports stuff on. That was probably my first visual of you guys, though.
Yeah, I mean, we were wearing running togs. And then the first when we came to America, Mark got the leg braces and Rob got the helmet because he was always sticking the nut on the cymbals and cutting his head. And it was like, that's not a smart thing to do. Why don't you protect it? Oh, I could wear this helmet. Yeah, that would be fun. And then it just developed and got, you know, over the top and crazy. But it did set us aside. We looked a little different, you know.
You did. Do you think it hurt or helped you?
Oh, I think it helped us. I think it got a little too. We got a little too carried away with it, and of course, we had people feeding into that too. By the time of the Pack Is Back album cover, we never actually played with the gear that me and Mark had on. Rob had the motocross thing on and the helmet and looked about the same, but the other stuff was like, this is uncomfortable and looks retarded, so no, we're not doing that. So,
well, I remember I'm sorry, to step on you when you're talking. Like in the early '80s when you did it, and even MTV and other music pop, it was fun. There's like so much different stuff that was going on. There really wasn't an image. You could do all kinds of crazy stuff. But then rock started getting to a point where you had thrash or this and that, and even your metal bands were everyone's wearing black, and everything kind of changed. So if you were still wearing the same things from that kind of stuff, all of a sudden you were standing out. You're not in that same two
well,
genres.
that was it. If you weren't wearing t-shirts and jeans or all black, then you were automatically glam. Right. It's just like utterly ridiculous, you know. I mean, right now we're pretty much, you know, dark and leather jackets and t-shirts, and Mark wears his knee pads and what have you. So it's always important it is show business. You should dress up a little bit for it rather than just like, you know, wipe your nose and walk on stage with your mechanic's outfit on. I still believe, you know, that you should definitely try to avoid that. But I think that permeates more than just the clothing. It's just like, yeah, you're dark and you look mean and your guitars are black and your music is dark and there's nothing in it. And we're not like that. We're a lot more positive in that the sound's positive, the messages are usually positive, and we have a lot of fun.
You are a very positive.
We act very silly. We push each other around and we put that out the audience and we get it back. And it makes for a great night, you know.
I was just watching a clip of you guys recently, and it was 2019, and actually didn't watch, from the two, literally same crazy people, same thing, and with your music, you're singing songs are more positive and it's less heavy, but I think your music sometimes was heavier, like your guitars are heavier, but then the vocals were a little different. So I think it's why it's like they couldn't classify you,
Yeah, I mean, it's the sound is this rock and roll.
Songs are really heavy.
This heavy, and the way it works is it's blend of contradictions. You've got a lot of order and you got a lot of chaos. You got a lot of melody and you got a lot of noise. And when it's in the balance, it works out. It's the right thing. Just mindlessly banging a riff out and screaming or groaning all over the top of it. No, that's not a song. We have actual songs, and then the way they're written, there's hooks, and there's melodies, and then there's left turns,
What is
lots
the
of left
process
turns.
for you guys for songwriting? Like, what do you guys do? How's it you guys come about your songs?
Uh,
Well, you know what I'm saying.
I,
Like some people have
I think
different
there's a
ways.
lot of, you've probably heard of this from a lot of people, where it's like, the exaggerated version is no one really comes up with anything. It's all out there, and you tune in, and it comes into you.
I like to
I
say
think there's a
the
lot of
Beatles. The
truth
Beatles.
to
The Beatles
that.
already wrote everything.
There's a lot of truth to that. It's like there's this whole universe of sounds, and some people were more gifted at tuning into it. So you had your Jimi Hendrixes and your Jimmy Page and what have
Mhm.
you. These people who would create a whole world of stuff like that and have all these amazing riffs. So on a good day, you're just playing guitar. I just pick up, don't think, pick, play, and whatever comes out, I'll record.
Because some
And
artists do it
for
differently.
the last couple of years, I've been very lucky, and there's still a lot of great stuff still coming out.
That's cool. Yeah, I was just
And
talking.
then you take that, and then you're more analytical afterwards. And sometimes you'll play something all the way through. Other times it's just a riff. Oh, I like that bit, but I don't like this bit. But if I take this part and put that with that, then you kind of building blocks and throw it together, and then work on it a little bit more. We really put ourselves through the ringer on the previous album, and we learned a lot of not so much tricks, but methods to get to the point quicker than we did before. I'd always have a habit of putting these little hangs in here and there. Like, I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's like, well, we'll fix it later. No. Try and fix it while you're doing it. Get
get it done.
don't try to recook the meal after you've done it. Try and do it right from the get go, and just having more clarity of thought, I think. But we had these long discussions, me and Martin. We're just like, we need to have an album where people are talking about that, and they're not saying, yeah, this is pretty good, but those first 3 albums, man, they were great. You get fed up with hearing that after a while, and it's almost an impossible thing to go against, because people grow up, and you're in that sweet spot of being between 15 and 20-year-old, and that's your album. That's in your brain for life. It's very hard to compete with that, but it can be done.
But at some level, though, it's almost like that scene. You're seeing Napoleon Dynamite with the guys out there playing football. Those are his glory days. So he's grown up, still out there playing football, trying to catch it by the van. Those are certain moments in your life where that was good, and the music hit, and it was a perfect setting for people. It was a perfect. That was where they were at. The sounds were right. It hit everybody
Yeah.
just perfect. This is a different time. You're different people.
Yeah.
You'd have to hit it differently.
Yeah, you just gotta, you can't, you can't overtly compete with that. It's just like, well, I'm going to do a song that's kind of like that. I mean, that's a losing proposition from the get-go. All you can do is try and create music that gets you going, and hopefully other people will latch onto it.
I enjoy
And
it.
we've still got that passion for what we do, 100%. We're better players. We're still as crazy live. We still put on a great show, if not a better show. There's some things that the longer you do it, you do get better at it. It's not it's still this whole thing about a rock and roll band. Remember back as a kid, people would be taking knocks on the Rolling Stones back in like 73 as them being old and over the hill and finished. Because no one had been doing it that long.
Now look at them.
Now look at them.
I
And
wouldn't
now
try
they're
it
probably
more.
better than they ever were. It's scary. So why not? I mean, they took the cue from some of these jazz guys who'd been out there doing it forever. And it's like, hey, if you can do it, you can do it.
How
You know?
about being on tour? Like your voice. I mean, you are a powerful singer. So as you get older, are you doing anything to kind of keep up with your voice? Is it just super strong? Just some people just it doesn't matter.
Um, touch wood, I'm good. I can sing anything I've ever done. I've still got all the same range I've ever had, and prove it over and over
No, it
again.
sounds
And
it on
you
the album.
grow.
I mean, like when you're on tour, though, maintain it because sometimes being on tour it's more of a challenge. Like,
The only challenge is if you don't look after yourself. You've got to get enough sleep. First off, that's paramount. The
yeah,
first thing to go when you're tired is your voice. Every time. So I have to be the party pooper. I have to get my sleep. Uh, I don't do any of the stupid stuff. Never have. Never smoked. Very rarely drink anything.
yep.
So it's a case of like trying to leave off the coffee. I'm quite the coffee fiend on the road. It's just like that's dries you out. That's not a great thing to do. But we've done even recently 15, 17 days on the trot on the road.
No issues.
Boom, 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 night after night after night after night. Not recommended, but you know, it's
Okay.
like a muscle. You work it, it gets stronger.
Well, this is the time frame now for artists where you either it goes on or it goes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm
Some
definitely
people
in
have
that
some people.
range. There's people in my age who've got no voice whatsoever.
Well, you know what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So like you have it. I was just listen to your new album compared to your other ones. Your voice is still there.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I was asking you. Said tour if you struggled because some bands when they go on tour they blow out their voice in the first four shows and then they're kind of like, you know, I don't think that's you. So
No, that's happened to me twice ever in
wow.
46 years. Twice. We were playing in 1986 with Yngwie Malmsteen. It was
Yeah.
the day Cliff died,
Oh,
and my voice had gone completely, croak. And then in 1995, we were in Japan and we were recording a live album, and I had no voice, and I was just mainlining tea, lemon, and honey, and didn't know until the first note whether I would get through it or not, and I did. And it's okay. You can hear it sounds a little weird, but it's okay. And like, oh, we'll go in the studio next day and I'll fix some parts. Went gone. Sorry, what you heard is what you got.
very funny. Well, yeah, it's incredible that your voice still goes on, and what have you been doing now with COVID? Like just work on songs, like you haven't time.
Yeah, I've been doing what I call my bass noodles since probably April. I did a video for a friend of mine, just playing Happy Birthday, and he's like, "Wow, that's really cool." I says, "Yeah, this is a new bass. Look what it can do." And oh, you should put some of that up on the internet. Oh, okay. So bass noodles, put a 2-3 minute video up, and I'm up to like 220 in a row at this point.
Where are you putting
And
it
it's
up?
just like, what's that?
Where are you putting it up on?
It's on Facebook,
Facebook.
on my Facebook page, John Gallagher Raven, and it's just me playing bass with, you know, cover tunes, freakouts, chordal, and crazy noises, fretless, 8 string, 4 string, tremolo, 7 string, whatever, and just basically showing what you can do on the bass,
That's awesome.
or at least what I can do.
The other thing is, so like, do you have any secret skills? I like to ask that. Like a lot of people, like, especially in music, there's like really good cooks, or they're like painters. They always have some kind of other creative extra thing they do that they're doing now more of. Do you have any other side things?
Well, I did the little doodles that are on the thank you page in the booklet for the album, like the drum and the hand with the fingers coming off
Yep.
and the shattered guitar and all that nonsense.
So you got a little
Which is
art
the
in there.
first time I've done any of that for a record in many years. So that's fun doing a bit of that. I cook. I've got a lovely curry waiting for me after this.
Do you? That stuff's strong. Once you cook it, everybody knows you're having it. My wife made it last night. Like, coming into the driveway, I'm like, we're having curry. There's no denying that sound, the smell. Um, that's really good stuff. To really wrap it up though, where at this point, are you gonna do any streaming, any more promoting of your stuff while you're
Well, I'm
waiting?
going to be doing more of these, the bass thing every day. As far as this 4 people or 3 people, as it is, in a box doing. No, that's not really appealing to us, and it's a pain in the neck. Mike's over in California dealing with his total lockdown at the moment,
Yeah,
and I'm going to be going off to England for Christmas and dealing with their total lockdown. That'll be fun.
definitely a challenge to get there.
Oh, yeah, so doing that stuff. I mean, some people have done some. I think it's fun when they're stretched out and done covers and stuff. There's some good stuff out there with
Oh
that.
yeah,
But we did 2 videos for the album so far, and we got a third one coming out on Friday.
for what? Which one?
And this is an exclusive.
Oh,
There you go, for the song "Not So Easy."
I will. Well, I'm gonna put all the links for everything we're talking about underneath the page too, so people can click on it and go right to
Yeah.
all the stuff you want. Okay. Yeah, I
So
didn't
we
check out
got
everything on the
that.
Facebook page
And then we
because
got we're waiting for rescheduled dates in Europe for next year. We're doing the Alcatraz Festival in August in Belgium, which is nice. Good people there, and hopefully a few more. And it's just a question of when it opens up, and we'll be out there, because the last couple of years we've hit it really hard. We played a lot of places for the first time. In last year, we didn't do that many gigs, but we did them all in almost consecutive, like 30, 40 dates in one batch. And we played places we never played: Costa Rica, Ecuador, Chile, China, Australia.
now, how is America touring? I hear a lot of things. People coming into America, it's so cost prohibitive, and it gets more and more each time. That
Uh, yeah, it's kind of cost prohibitive everywhere.
or like the visas to get
I
in, it's
mean,
kind of crazy.
we run it really lean and mean. I mean, I laugh when I get these people going, "Oh man, it's so expensive to tour." My 3 guitar roadies, they don't know what to do, and I've got the guy who picks my toenails before I play, and we've got this triple decker bus. No, I mean, we strip it down to the bone, and it's just like, I'm okay. I don't need a guitar roadie. I'm the best guitar roadie there is. I know my stuff inside out.
And
I don't
amps,
need to have to filter that through somebody else by paying them $300-400 a week.
yeah. Well, and the amps have gotten so much better now. They're so small, or like your fractal units are like just so much you can do, and just take a little head, you can carry it in on the plane with you, and then plug it in to what the other club in.
That's sacrilege. Would never do such a thing. I have my refrigerator bass stack, thank you very much. But I don't carry it. I mean, we carry it here.
Yeah.
But over there, of course, it's all rental. But yeah, I mean, you got to move some air.
Yeah.
We got bands who are playing through Kempers and Axe FXs, and they're just playing through the PA.
Yeah.
And they start playing, and it sounds like they couldn't burst through a paper bag. It sounds dreadful. The guy will dial it in, and eventually, if it's a big hall and a big rig like a festival, it'll sound okay. But initially, no, and especially in clubs, it doesn't sound right. There's no air being moved, and if you're standing at the front, you don't hear anything. It's all on the sides. All you hear is the acoustic kit. Very bizarre.
I've only heard of a couple bands doing that in the past year or two, so I haven't seen any live shows of it. I know Testament we're talking about able to scale down some of their gear. I don't remember which it is, so I can't quote me on it, but able to take down some of their stuff with them. So I don't know.
Yeah, Testament were doing that. And once I saw them with that, and it was like it took one song before it got dialed in, and before that it was god awful. It just sounded like buzzy bees. Couldn't hear anything.
They got locked in.
Very weird. Accept has been doing something similar, where it's all run through Kempers and there's click tracks through people's ears, and there's bands who are far beyond that, like Sabaton with their 2 laptops going with the choirs and the keyboards and the drummers and the guitarists and the singers, and the guy should just go for a curry. Let the laptop play, I don't know.
That's a lot.
And there's bands that play and they have the click track and they have cues. Chorus coming up in 1, 2, 3, 4. Here
Really.
comes the solo. 1, 2, yeah.
I love a live sound.
That's not rock and roll.
I think
That's freaking Broadway or something.
I think the best sounds, best example would be, Pantera when they came out in Cowboys from Hell, and you see them live. So when Dimebag would go out and do a solo, you would just hear the bass. There's no second guitar. There's no fills. It was just what it was. You know what I mean? Perfect.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, that was instrumental in the way we developed our sound, was going from a 4-piece to a 3-piece. And all of a sudden, everyone's got way more responsibility and way more space and way more opportunity.
Mhm.
So everyone gets to shine an awful lot more. It always seems as if there's a passenger, and if you've ever seen a 2-guitar band, when one of the guitars goes down, like they break a string or whatever, all of a sudden the band sounds 1,000 times better when it's down to one guitar. It's so strange, but I've seen that a few times.
I haven't seen that. I don't think it's a bad idea if you could scale down a little bit without losing sound in the future for musicians, because there's just a lot of stuff carried around. But it's a question of sound. You don't want to give it up. The quality.
No, it's it's whatever works. I think a lot of people get comfortable with a lot of people in the band, and there's a lot of padding and a lot of repetition. It's like, hey, we've got these 2 guitar players and they're playing the same thing all night, and they trade off playing solos. There's some bands that got a little smarter with that, where they haven't, at least they're playing, complementing parts or harmonies or whatever.
Layered up.
Yeah, a little bit more creative with that. That's fun. But live, sheer volume fills in a few holes.
It does, and I think it's good on some level, because like a lot of bands, you also were doing like empty stacks behind them too, so they weren't playing everything or every other one, or a lot of it was just a visual thing from the bands for a while.
Yeah. No, it's down to your tones and stuff, especially with playing as a 3-piece. I have a huge bass sound that's distorted and loud, and it fills a lot of the roles of an extra rhythm, like an extra guitar player as well. Mark's got a huge guitar sound, and we interlock and we orchestrate. I'm not just playing boom 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 underneath what he's doing. It's usually another riff that's similar but different, and it locks in and creates something bigger than the sum of the parts.
It does. The layering is good. Well, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and sharing everything with us. It's been a pleasure, man. Looking forward to you coming. I mean, hopefully you'll be out soon. I know the industry word is March. I know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we've waited this long. We'll wait a little longer.
But,
so, Merry Christmas and a Metal New Year to everyone.
thank you, man.
And
Thank
we'll
you for
see
being on
you
the show.
soon.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cheers.